Hello, in this video, we're going to be covering a lesson, and this lesson is going to be review. So these are concepts that you've already previously learned. However, you just need to really brush up on them. We need to make sure that those skills are really good. You're proficient in those so that we can use those throughout the year this year. Okay, so let's kind of start, and we're going to be solving some equations. So let's just kind of talk about what that is in general, okay? An equation is basically, it has two expressions with an equal sign in the middle of them, okay? So here's an equation, 12 plus a equals 20. All right, so on this equation, we have an equal sign that separates the two sides. And we have the two sides. One side is magically called the right side. It's on the right-hand side. And the other side would be the left-hand side. Okay, so you got a left and right-hand side of an equation. Not too much to worry about there. That's just kind of common sense. Okay, but the important thing about that is the equal sign. Equal sign does a lot there. So let's kind of just talk in general. So x equals 4. This is just a random one I'm telling you. X does equal 4. Okay, well, if x equals 4, what can I do to change this up to make it an equation? Well, I could multiply both sides by 3. If I multiplied both sides by 3, let's do that now. 3 times x and then 3 times 4. 3x equals 12. Let me ask you this, does x still equal 4? Well, I look over here at 3 times 4, yeah, that's 12. So x still does equal 4. We haven't changed anything. Well, what if I added 6 to both sides? Okay, well, let's just do that. 3x plus 6 equals 12 plus 6. Okay, well, 3x equals 18. Have I changed the value of x at all? Previously, x equaled 4. Let's plug it in and find out. So 3 times 4 is 12. 12 plus 6 is 18. I haven't changed it at all. And this is the wonderful thing with equations, and this is what you must know, is as long as we do it to both sides, and the entire thing on both sides, right? So we'll get into that a little bit later, but as long as we do it to both sides, we haven't changed the value of x. And this is where it becomes very important when we're trying to solve an equation, because I can divide by 4, I can multiply by 4. As long as I do it to both sides, I'm not changing the value of x. It's always going to be 4. Okay, and that becomes really important. Okay, so here's why I say that. This is an example problem. Okay, I've got k plus 5 equals 3. Well, I want to get k all by itself. I want to learn what k is equal to. I can't do that right now. Right now, I'm just kind of guessing on what it's going to be. But using what we've just learned there is, as long as we do it to both sides, we haven't changed the value of k at all. So I want to get k all by itself. So I want this plus 5 gone. And so we want to start thinking about opposites when we're doing this. Well, what's the opposite of positive 5? That's negative 5. So I'm going to, and this is our equation, right? If I'm going to do it to one side, I need to do it to my left-hand side so I can get rid of that 5. But if I'm going to do it to one side, it's like a scale. I can't do it to one side, it's going to be lopsided. I have to do it to both sides. If I add the same amount or subtract the same amount from both sides, that scale remains equal. So the same thing is true here. I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. Okay, and if I do it to both sides, I've got that scale. It's still equal. Then I end up with just k plus positive 5 minus 5 is 0. So k plus 0 equals, and then 3 minus 5 is negative 2. So k equals negative 2 in this scenario. We've just solved this equation. And I know this is a very easy one, but it's a review one, right? Okay, so k is equal to negative 2. And the fantastic part about this that I absolutely love is you can check it. So here's our original problem, right? We said k equals negative 2. I can actually plug this back in to my original equation. So I take my original equation right here, and I'm going to rewrite it. I write it right down here, but this time, instead of writing k, I'm going to write what my answer was. I'm going to plug in that negative 2 for k. And as I plug that in, does it work? Well, what's negative 2 plus 5? Well, that's 3. Does 3 equal 3? It does. And if it does, that means we got the right answer. And you can do this for all of these problems. This way you can get 100% on all your homeworks and all your tests, because you can plug it back in. Every one of these can be checked. Okay, so right now I'm going to give you 2 problems. Here are 2 problems. What I would like you to do right now is I'd like you to pause the video. This will give you an opportunity to work out both of those problems. After you've worked out those problems, so you want to identify what y equals and you want to identify what m equals. After you've come up with the answer on both of those, I want you to come back to the video and push play. That way you can check your answers. Okay, so pause the video now. After you've obtained both answers, come back and push play. Okay, perfect. Hopefully you got -11 for y on your first one and -8 for m on your second one. This is just trying to throw you off just a little bit here. You just simplify this right-hand side, and then you can solve it like you would the other equations that we've worked on. Okay, I'd like to give you a couple more here. Let's go through another example. This one's a little bit different than the addition and subtraction one. So on this quantity, I've got 35 times d is equal to 210. Well, I don't want to know what 35d equals. I want to know just what d equals. Okay, so I got to get rid of this 35. So just think of opposites like we were doing before. Before, we had to subtract 5 from both sides. Well, right now, I've got a 35 times d. Well, what's the opposite of times? Divided by. Okay, so I'm going to divide both sides by 35. Okay, and if I divide both sides by 35, that's going to cancel out those 35s and give me a 1d. And 1d equals 210 divided by 35 is 6. Now, here's the thing. In math, we don't say 1d. In math, they try to find shortcuts to everything. Instead of writing 1d because it's the most used coefficient, we call that the number before the variable is a coefficient. The most used coefficient is 1. We just leave it off. So anytime you see it, we don't write 1d. It's going to be simply written as d. D is 6. Now, when you enter these into your homework, just write in 6. Just type in the number 6. Don't get weird with it. Don't type it in a foreign language. Just type in 6. You're going to be fine with it. Okay. All right. So here are two similar problems. Number 1 looks a little bit weird, but just remember, it's the opposite of what's occurring here. If you're having troubles with that, do number 2 first and then go to number 1, okay? All right, so pause the video right now. I'd like you to work through these problems and then come back in and push play so you can check your answers. Okay, number 1 got it just a little bit tricky because that's a divided by -3. So what's the opposite of division? Well, that's multiplication. So you just need to multiply both sides by -3 and you'll get it. Okay, we're going to start throwing some harder ones at you here. I wanted you to get a little bit more practice. So push pause on the video now, and I want you to work through these. Okay, and then come back in and push play. Okay, number 2 is a little tricky. Because it was 4/7 k. Well, what is it going to take for me to get k all by itself, or 1k? That's what I want. And to do that, think of the reciprocal. That's your hint. You can pause the video now and try to work through that one if you'd like. If not, it's the reciprocal. What's the reciprocal of 4/7? That would be 7/4. So if you multiply both sides by 7/4, this would cancel, right? 7 times 4 is 28. 4 times 7 is 28. 28 over 28 is 1. So that's how we got that one. Okay, so a little bit tricky there, but it's not the end of the world, okay? All right, work through these real quick. Let's get some more practice. So push pause on the video now. After you've obtained your answers, come back and push play. Okay, you should be getting, that should become very smooth for you right now. Okay, these two, now the number 1 is like the previous one that we did 2 problems earlier. Okay, so hopefully you can do this one. Push pause on the video now, work through these, and then come back and push play to check your answers. Okay, hopefully you got number 1 because it was very similar. All right, let's go through one that's a little more complex now. Okay, now it's not just simply 7k equals 28 or something, right? We've got more than one item on the left-hand side. So the very first thing we're going to do in a problem like this is we're going to combine like terms. So I've got 2 of them that have k. I've got a -7k and a +3k. Let's combine those. So if I have a -7k and plus 3k, that's going to give me a -4k. Now, from here, we haven't done these yet, but this is what we call a multi-step. There's multiple steps in order to solve this one. Okay, I need to get rid of that 8. And the way we do that is we always kind of start with what we're trying to identify. And you're trying to identify that k. So I look at this k and say, well, what's further away from the k? And that's the -8 is definitely further away than the -4. So I need to get rid of this 8. How do I get rid of -8? I add 8 to both sides. Remember, if you do it to one side, you got to do it to both. Okay, so this gives me a -4k equals 32. Now I need to get rid of that -4. That means it's -4 times k. In order to get rid of that, I'm just going to divide both sides by -4. K would give me -8. Okay, and again, when you type these into your homework, you're just going to write a -8. All right, try these right now. Push pause on the video. And then I'd like you to try these. And then after you've obtained your answer, come back and push play to check them. Okay. Hopefully you were able to kind of work through those and work them. And it doesn't matter. I purposely put the X on the left-hand side on this one and the Y on the right-hand side on this one. It doesn't matter what side they're on. You could even move it so you move the 21 on this side and negative 21 on this side and then everything else on the other side. That would have worked too. You'd come up with the same answer. So, all right. So more practice here. So why don't you work through these right now? And this is a good example here because I've got Y's on both sides and I've got B's on both sides. It doesn't matter which side you choose to have your variable. That Y and the B are what we call variables. Doesn't matter what side you choose to have those on. Pick a side, right? Whatever one's the easiest. To me, on this one, it would be very easy just to move this 9 over to this side, this negative 9Y, because I already have the number on this side and I've got my variable on this side. But if you want to do it the other one, try to do it the other way. It's okay. Either way will get you the right answer. So push pause on the video now, work through this one, and then come back and push play. Okay. Hopefully you found that you got the right answer on both of those two. I'm real big on additional practice. So you'll see this. I'd like you to practice these two. So push pause on the video now. I'd like you to work through these problems and then come back and push play so that you can check your answer. This gets just a little bit more complex. We got a couple different routes we can take on this one, right? On this very first one, we can distribute this 3 on the inside, or we can divide both sides by 3. Actually, both of them would work. The easiest route for most students is just to go ahead and distribute that 3 to everything on the inside. But if you want to do it the other way, you can. They both will get you the same answer. So, okay, check your answers here to make sure that you got the right answer. If you took this one and you divided both sides by 3, that would give you a 6. Right? And then so it would be 6 equals n minus 2. You add 2 to both sides and it would still give you 8. That's what I love about mathematics and equations specifically is it doesn't kind of matter. You can, there are lots of different ways that you can come about the answer. So don't feel like because I did it differently than you that you necessarily did it wrong. If you obtain the right answer, chances are that you probably did a correct path. Continue to try that path and make sure you get the correct answer. But anyway, okay. Continue to work on these. Okay, so that we're getting a little bit more difficult here as we go along. Push pause on the video now. I'd like you to work through these, then come back and push play. Okay, let's check these. These get a little bit more complex here. On this negative applies to the K and to the 24. So double check that you've got that one correct. And then you've got a negative K and a negative K gives you negative 2K. And again, you could have moved your 15 over to this side if you want 15K over to this side, or you could move the the negative 2K over to the other side. It doesn't really matter which route you chose on this, but these are fairly complex equations. If you're getting these right, then you're really starting to understand the material. So, okay, last one. This is a crazy one. I just want you to try this one. And let's kind of see where you go with it. Push pause on the video now, work through this one, and then come back and push play. Okay, if you came up with 23 on this one, you are correct and you are really starting to understand this process. So on the homework, I'm going to have additional examples and work-throughs that you can do. So don't feel like, you know, if you don't fully understand it now, then you're going to be lost. The homework I do include additional examples on as well. So anyway, so that's it for this video. Thank you for tuning into it. If you have any questions, please reach out to me and let me know. I'd be happy to help any way I can.